Hey, welcome to this video using Plasticity, hard surface modeling for a drone concept actually. So I decided to use Plasticity just to make a sci-fi sort of drone really. I mean, what I envisioned for it was nothing military or anything like that, militaristic, but maybe a drone for surveying environments or something like that. But I certainly wanted to encapsulate the sci-fi look and feel, give it a bit of visual weight, make it look a little bit heavy, kind of blocky really. And yeah, Plasticity was the tool that I decided to use for it. And in here what you'll see me do is use quite a lot of the sketching and extrusion, then Boolean operations. So again, if you're not familiar with hard surface modeling approaches or perhaps Plasticity, what it allows you to do, or what the approach would be to create different cuts, and whilst doing those cuts you'd extrude them out and you Boolean the shape, if you like, or the design feature out of the model itself. So you can see me doing that there. So it's quite an effective way to model. One of the advantages using a software such as Plasticity is that we don't actually have to worry about sort of the issues that you get from the traditional polygon modeling, where you're doing the smooth to get the edges and putting in the extra edge loops and stuff and the support loops. You can kind of escape all that here, and there's a bit more fluidity, if you like, to the design process using sort of splines or NURBS, and it allows you to have sort of a different level of creativity where you can forget about that and how the model is going to sort of deform when you apply your smooth or your turbo smooth or whatever it is on there, and you can just sort of free form model really without worrying about any of that. So it's pretty cool, and it allows you your creative freedom and those creative juices just to flow a little bit more natural and just get into the swing of things in terms of creating stuff. I mean, I encourage my students to do a lot of stuff like this, and I do it myself. So if you've been following me and you watch the YouTube weeklies and stuff like that, I'll create some weird sci-fi hard surface shapes. And yeah, sometimes they look like they work on something, they could work on something, but the purpose of the exercise really is to keep myself busy, keep myself sort of progressing and using tools. And one of the things that you'll find is that when you're not continuously modeling from reference is you'll come across like different problems that you wouldn't necessarily come across because you're sort of free flowing in creative mode. You'll be creating these sort of different shapes and unique features that might not necessarily fit in the real world context from modeling from reference. So it's always quite fun to do and see what problems you get, and yeah, figure out what the design's going to be as you sort of progress and go on. So you can see me here using sort of like the extrude feature and just extruding faces and creating sort of different panel effects and all this kind of stuff, which is really fun to do, and it's relatively quick. I think this whole process, it took about it's about an hour and 40 minutes, I want to say. So I think the actual video itself in real time was about an hour and 40 minutes. So it's not too long for a creative exercise. I do try and push these to around about 2 hours if I can. So if I can spend about 2 hours modeling, sometimes I haven't got that, and I'll do something in roughly an hour or thereabouts. But yeah, the longer you can get on these, the better. I think going beyond the 2 hour mark, you sort of in the danger then of becoming into a fully scaled project. So the idea is to keep these sort of constrained in time, and keep them constrained and keep them creative and fun, free flowing, just nothing too stressful, nothing too strenuous, and just use the different features and tools. And it's one of the best ways as well of learning new software. And again, I just refer back to sometimes when I'm working with students and stuff, I just ask them to get creative in the software, just to make something, whatever they want to make, just make it and give it a go and see how it works out. And sometimes it's not necessarily about the final outcome, but it's the steps you've taken during that creative process that allow you to learn and develop and grow as an artist. And some of these things that you can see me sort of do here as well is I'm looking at the designs and I'm looking at the surfaces. So you can see the model's broken up into, you know, it's got its large shapes, it's got its medium shapes, and then what I'm trying to do then is create transitional shapes in terms of the blended or smaller details. So that way we're breaking up the larger shapes and we've got something a little bit more intricate and eye-catching that the viewer can look at on the design. And in this case I'm using sort of extruded circles, and, you know, booleaning those out. So again, you know, if you're into modeling, you know, you perhaps should use Blender, Maya, or 3ds Max. You'll be familiar with sort of boolean operations. And yeah, Plasticity does pretty good job. It's got a decent array tool in here that, you know, gives you a bunch of features that you can do. And yeah, you can set up repetitive detail quite quickly and break up some of the key forms. Here you can sort of see me just experimenting with the rear section. I think, you know, the vision for this bit was to have some sort of, I suppose it's an anti-gravity pack or something on the back maybe, or something that allowed it to sort of fly and hover about. So that's what I'm trying to create here, and I'm just trying to figure out maybe sort of like a grill that, you know, maybe lets heat escape or something along those lines. And I'm just experimenting with the forms of doing either, you know, a rectangular straight one, or whether it's going to be crooked or curved. So one of the things that you can do inside of Plasticity as well is you can actually fillet edges, and, you know, you'll see me do that in a moment, where I'm sort of like figuring out the design and sort of coming in here where I'm clicking things, and I've just filleted these to round them and see if that works a little bit better. And I think the thinking was, because this section here is rounded itself, you know, do we want to break into, you know, having the sort of sharper edge, or would a rounded edge be a little bit better? And what I often do when I'm doing this stuff is, you know, zooming in and out is a big part of it as well, because with that, it allows you to see the visual weight distribution within the form and the detail, and how it holds up, that design detail holds up in correlation to the rest of the model and its features as well. So trying to keep things themed around, you know, we've got some soft edges and we've got some hard edges as well. So I'm just trying to keep everything sort of themed and looking connected in a way, and part of the same design. Sometimes when you zoom in and you're modeling this stuff, you can get a little bit too into a section, and then when you zoom out you realize that section just doesn't match the rest of the design. So a good tip there is to be zooming in and out as much as you can, really. Another one is, you know, this one's going to be a symmetrical model. So what I do is every now and again you'll see me use the mirror tool, and basically I'm just using that mirror tool just to double check the weight distribution, so the visual weight distribution of it. You know, does the design look good? Is it you know, is it making sense on both sides? Is it balanced? You know, that's a key thing as well. I think with mechanical stuff, you know, having that, I suppose there is things that break the rules, but having a nice sort of weighted balance to the models that you create, the hard surface stuff, is quite important. I mean, obviously there's going to be exceptions to the rule, but if you're looking at big weighty objects, you know, they should be pretty balanced in terms of the visual weight they carry, because it just wouldn't make sense, and people pick up on these things quite quickly. But yeah, I mean, here you can see me again just trying to break the design and just add in maybe another grill section or something interesting on this area. I think when I did this, I kind of envisioned it being like, you know, these grills, like lights coming from them, so you know, maybe like a blue emission or something like that. I actually think I cut this in too far at this section, so I'm looking at here and you can see I've made a slight error there, so I've got to go back and sort of fix that. So my first protocol was to see if I could fix it from the actual cut itself, which it didn't allow me to do, so I think I reapply the cut here. So I just go back using Control Z and just reapply that cut to the side. And again, you know, it might be a nice feature to include, just to have a bit of light coming off it and just make it a little bit more sci-fi looking and a bit more like I suppose like a technical drone or something like that. And here, I'm trying to figure out again, just to try and connect up the I suppose the larger areas, the surface areas. I'm trying to connect them up with sort of smaller, medium, maybe small details. I'm trying to connect these up and just give it so it's not like a blank surface here. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, what type of feature that I'd want at the side here. So whether that's going to be, you know, something triangulated, maybe it's something like this where it's a bit more bespoke. That's part and parcel of doing this creative process and just trying to figure out those design areas and yeah, figure out those features, so to say, not design areas but features, and just figure out what it is that I kind of want to do with it. And yeah, within hard surface, excuse me, looking at you know, breaking up those surface angles by putting slight indentations in there really help give it that sort of mechanical look. And I think in this section, this is one of the things that I was talking about, the creative sort of problem solving. Sometimes when you're free flowing like this, you're going to have the opportunity to come across problems that you might not necessarily come across when you're modeling from observation, because you get the opportunity to plan and stuff. So here you can see I come into a bit of an issue where I'm like, I want this sort of triangulated pattern going across, and at the time of the video I couldn't figure out how to join the different sections together. So you can join splines together using J, and I didn't know that at the time. So when I did this and I'm trying to use the loft tool and I'm trying to mess around in here, I realized that I couldn't do it, and you know, that creative problem solving kicks in, and I'm like, right, what do I know which will allow me to create this feature? And I think what I settled on was you know, using the sort of spline here, using an offset. I mean, I used an array again here, but it doesn't quite work out. So what I'm looking for there is a join. Again, it's J. I didn't know how to do it, but yeah. So what I did was sort of use the offset feature here and connect these points up, which gives me you know, a point there, or a complete sketch, should I say. And that way I can then use the array tool to, you know, copy these across and then add in that sort of side detail that I want to add. So doing projects like this as well sort of allow you to come across these problems which you would come across you might not necessarily come across, because you might have planned how you want to approach this. You know, modeling from reference and stuff, it gives you the opportunity to plan it. But yeah, there's sort of advantages of doing it this way for your creativity and your creative problem solving. It allows you to sort of figure out those problems on the fly, which in I suppose a forward thinking, it makes you better use at the software. You learn more sort of tricks, I suppose, within the software. And again, even though I've got these sort of medium or smaller features, I'm sort of breaking these up a little bit more as well with some additional features in there. So you can sort of see where I'm adding these little cuts down the side and just trying to break up that pattern a little bit more and make it a bit more eye-catching and a bit more unique with that. So yeah, using this stuff with sketches and things, that, you know, it allows you to draw to the surface as well. So what I'm doing here, I'm trying to draw a bit of detail to the surface that where I can add sort of an additional panel or an additional panel feature. It's not quite catching there, but I do get it in the end. And you can see here where I've got that now. And what I do is I sort of use that cut tool again and just line it up the way that I can. And you can see the edges line up pretty nice. And yeah, I'm just pushing and pulling that geometry about the best that I can. And just creating something, yeah, in addition, that breaks up that earlier detail as well. So perhaps, you know, it's I don't know, it's a bit of a panel. There might be some wires under there or something in terms of the design. And then you'll see me here with this section where, you know, I'm putting in some additional cuts as well. I've got to join those on, I think, to make it work. But you can see where I'm just trying to figure out sort of like, yeah, some sort of detail. And I think it's important as well, like thinking about how this is going to be viewed. You know, is it going to be viewed from the front? Is it going to be viewed from the back? And I think trying to figure out the sort of silhouette as well, like is it going to be visually as a silhouette, is it going to be interesting? So if you can kind of figure out that and have sort of like unique features that sort of stick out and make it identifiable from different angles, it gives you sort of a strong design, sort of a design feature or design element, or however you want to say it. It makes it a little bit stronger. And yeah, you know, there's a lot of experimentation in it. There's a lot of figuring out. I did have a bit of reference on, so I had a little bit of reference on where I was kind of looking at you know, sort of like drones and camera drones and stuff like that. So got a little bit of inspiration for it on my other monitor, which you can't see on the video. And yeah, I'm just sort of like pulling in different design ideas really, and I suppose making them merge into one, and what I wanted to create for this. One of the things is you know, it's supposed to be like a sort of a camera drone type thing. So my thinking here was to try and add some sort of grooves or something inside that you might see on a camera or a camera lens. So just trying to think, or even maybe a scope or something like that. They often have these grooves and stuff on the side. So I'm just trying to figure out how I could create that. And what I did was I used the Radial array inside of Plasticity, which is a pretty good tool actually. It's quite powerful. And what it does, it allows you to create additional features or duplicate features, if you like, from a central point. So it gives it the radial effects, like they go around in a circle. So I was able to do this quite effectively because you know, this is a rounded shape, and you know, you can see me here just kind of figuring out. I think in the end I settled for larger shapes because I was sort of looking at the design and I was like, you know, this, if I come to fillet or chamfer this, it's not going to work, because I'm just going to have such tiny sort of fillets on there that when I come to render it anyway, the lighting's not going to catch properly. So I settled on sort of like a larger cut feature, if you like, around the edges of the design. And here you can see me settling on that and, you know, reducing that down and just trying to get it so when I do symmetry, it will mirror across, and I'm not going to have any issues on that front there. So I think, yeah, this one I settled, so you can still see, but I'm just experimenting and just trying to figure out, okay, how do I want this? And yeah, I think I settled on that. So because of the size of them now, that detail, when I do come to fillet it, it'll be a little bit easier to do that. So again, you can see me just experimenting with a different look and feel of the objects and stuff. And yeah, just checking the weight, big one again, checking that weight visually, making sure that the design looks pretty cool and it looks balanced. Now with this, I broke it up into different sections, so I broke it up into different parts. So I can see, like, you know, when I mirror certain things, I've got to duplicate the mirror and well, not duplicate the mirror, but select the objects and mirror them across. So it's all about just sort of, yeah, figuring out that weight and just seeing the balance really. If I was doing something like asymmetrical, I'd probably wait a little. What I would do is I'd get the design finished as a whole, mirror it across, and then I'd make the changes on the other side. So I'd try and make it a little bit more unique on the other side in the area. But yeah, I think at the back here, I'm trying to figure out some sort of like battery pack or something, that some sort of detail that would be in there that I could, you know, maybe, yeah, add in, yeah, some sort of unique feature where it's sort of like maybe a power source, or there's some sort of indication at least of a battery. And again, you know, you could probably communicate that a bit better with the texturing and stuff, like by adding warning stickers and stuff on there. But it's important to have that visual detail on there. Now with this back section, you can see me sort of figuring out, so this is going to be sort of like maybe the hover mechanism. It's going to, you know, have a bit of light emitting from it or something like that. And what I did do to break it up a little bit was just add in a bit of a cut here, and what it allowed me to do is just make it a little bit more visually interesting, so it doesn't look as sort of flat when people look at it. And again, if this was side on and you look at the silhouette, we're just breaking up those big straight lines, we're breaking them up a little bit more and just making it a little bit more sort of visually pleasing to look at. And yeah, I mean, here now, I mean, this could have quite easily turned into a bit of a gun or something. You know, I could have changed this into a bit of a, I don't know, like a pulse pistol or pulse rifle or something like that. But you know, I stuck to the task at hand. I set out to do sort of like a bit of a sci-fi drone, and I think I said before, you know, I think it was about, you know, an hour and 30 minutes or something like that, 20 minutes, whatever I spent on it anyway, doing these tasks. But yeah, and yeah, at the back here, I'm just trying to give it that bit more of believability, thinking about, right, how would we power it? Where's it get its charge from? You know, is there something in here where we can add, is there a part of a feature which is a bit dull where I could add something else? And I settled for this cylindrical bit on the back as well, just to try and break the shape up a little bit more, and just break that sort of features, you know, stop it looking so flat, I suppose. So using different key forms and different shapes here really helped with the design. And you can sort of see me, like, I'm sort of going back and forth and thinking to myself, like, well, you know, how would this sit on? And I settled with it sort of being maybe sort of a battery pack, an energy pack that sits inside the design itself. I didn't want it just sort of like hovering or floating about in there. And you know, you can see me sort of adding the sort of panel detail through offsets, so that's pretty cool. So you can add that panel detail in there, which is pretty good. And I think in this sort of video here now, yeah, this bit here, I actually figured out you can do a spline from point to point. So you can see here where I did a spline and I've got a pipe that goes from point to point. So I was just trying to figure out how to get the angle correct on when you click this, and just get it into the section here. And what I kind of wanted to do was connect it visually, so the energy source or the battery itself is connected to whatever was flying. So the thing that looked like it made it fly. So that would be done a little bit more again in the texture side of things. You know, you probably add a bit more like emissive lighting and different maps that give you that visual design aid there. And here you can just see me figuring out, like, hey, look, how can I get this working? And yeah, I did a pipe that fits from point to point. So I did a spline and then I did a pipe to it. And yeah, you can sort of see me here, like, okay, so I've got some detail, excuse me, you know, what else do I want to do here? And I think I settled on this section here. So I've just hid the pipe. I'm trying to figure out whether, you know, I want an inset or something like that. I want, you know, what do I want, or how do I want this connecting on here? So you can sort of see where, you know, I'm trying to figure out how I want this on. I don't just kind of want it flat and plugged in. So what I settled for was have a repetitive design feature in there. So you can see here where I've got that sort of repetitive design feature. And one of the good things there, I can select like different areas that I've done here, and I can just push and pull these about in Plasticity, and it'll update the rest of the mesh as well. So it kind of updates those features, ensuring that you know, there's this sort of the features are pushed along, so it makes a bit more sense. And I think to finish off, I just sort of like filleted the edges, given that sort of smooth look. Some of them I was able to do uniformly, so like here I was able to sort of like match this up uniformly. Other ones I had to come in and sort of like edit a little bit more manually. But I think that wraps up the sort of video. There's a few minutes left where I just finished the design off. So let me know in the comments what you think anyway. Let me know if you've got any questions of anything that you've seen that I've used in here, or if there's anything that's piqued your interest. And if there is a good question, you know, and it warrants another video, I'll do another video based upon it. But that'll be me out. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Bye bye for now. I'll see you in the comments or the next video.